Well, I was considering starting off by saying, yeah, Kent has gone to the great beyond, but he didn't die. Kent is still very much alive.
the big football field in the sky.
All right, fuck it. Let's get started on that note.
First down, goes to the sidelines, has a man wide
Loves those moments. It reminds me of last year in the Garden against St. John. And guys just stepped up. Blake hits a what the hell three. You know, we're like, what are you doing? And he's done that all year.
Klicka out to Bizzario. It's over. The Pitt Panthers have upset Wisconsin. Anybody if he hits his field goal. Up and got it. Sauls does it again.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Simplify Podcast. It's been a while since we've talked about actual Pitt sports. I believe it's been 4 months. I'm your host, Zach Kaminsky. I'm joined by my co-host, Mason Kling. Mason, how we doing tonight?
We're back. I feel like it's the time of year, the Zach Ellinger memes. Yeah, ready. Dude, it feels this was the fastest offseason in history, but that just makes me even more excited for Pitt football and college football in general to be back.
Yeah, week 0, we got our taste. Honestly, that K-State Iowa State game was pretty good for a doubling game. We've got some stinkers. That one, at least in the upper half. There have been less of those games than you actually think there were, but pretty good game to open up. Some other good games. That if anyone caught the UNLV Idaho State game, that one almost went to overtime. Good one. But yeah, week 1's coming up. We didn't do any off-season shows except for a shit post of a show where we redid the case race draft with some friends of the show. And speaking of friends of the show, to help us preview your Pitt football Panthers for 2025, I brought in 2 near and dear friends of the show. I believe his 3rd year in a row making his appearance on this show. First up is Stephen Thompson. You'll recognize him from, like I said, he's been on the show 3 years in a row. Pitt beat reporter for the Post-Gazette. Stephen, how we doing tonight?
Doing great. Like Mason said, I was thinking earlier today, to something one of my high school basketball coaches said to me, and he was just like, when game day, every day that game day gets closer, the air feels a little cleaner, colors are more vibrant, like music sounds better. Like it's how it started to feel the past couple of days. Like everyone could talk about how miserable the end of last football season was, and really how the end of last basketball season was too. But like there is a different energy around the city or around myself when there's a football game coming up. So I try never to take that for granted. I often fail, but yeah, I could not be more excited to watch. I'm not going to jinx myself by giving a score prediction, but watch some football at Acrisure Stadium on Saturday afternoon.
I think it also helps that the weather this week has been absolutely beautiful. I've been waking up. It's in the 60s and the 50s. I'm putting on a sweatshirt going to work. That is sweatshirt on in the morning, walk out, sweatshirt off. That is the best weather. We're getting there. And tonight's a 4-mic show because we also have our other friend of the pod, prolific guest star Dominic Campbell of On SI's Inside the Panthers. Dominic, usually we'd have you on for volleyball. Unfortunately, I forgot to find time to make a show. I'm not going to take up too much of everybody's time. I'm gonna put last weekend's losses right on my shoulders because I didn't do a preview show, and that put the juju at the team of an all-time low. But also the team is fine. Dom, how we doing tonight?
Doing great, Zach. Like you said, fall's around the corner, and Pitt football is back. That's what matters most. Acrisure Stadium, the North Shore, this weekend, noon kickoff against the Duquesne Duke City game. We're back, baby.
Can't say it better myself. If you're going to the Savannah Bananas game this weekend, this podcast is not for you. Turn it off. Turn it off. Do not listen to us again. We do not like you. I do want to start this off with everyone is very excited for football. With this team, I'd like to go around the room here. What part of this team are you most excited about for this fall? I'll let anybody kick it off here if you got an answer right off the bat.
The offense. Um, Pitt's been known for its defense for, I don't know, pretty much I feel like since I've been a fan of them. Had a couple good offenses here and there, but I guess I should say a healthy offense, a healthy Eli Holstein for an entire season. Really just to see how many points this team could put up because we saw flashes of it last year. Just looking to see that at a more consistent clip.
I mean, I can go next. I can kind of jump off that.
I'm excited for the linebacking core. Oh,
Hell yeah. No, go now. Go now. All right. Yeah,
all
leave
right.
it there.
I'm excited for the linebacking core, of course. Kyle Lewis. I mean, All American. You got Rasheem Biles. You got one of the guys I'm looking forward to, and Cam Lindsey out of Aliquippa. He's a redshirt freshman. So, I mean, just a lot of those guys I'm really excited for. Obviously, my stock pick, Jeremiah Marlin, is out for the year, so disappointed in that. But overall, excited for Biles and Lewis and a lot of the other guys like Lovelace, another Whitfield guy there. So there's a lot of guys to like on that linebacking core, and Ryan Manilak has again put together a very solid core right there.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback off of Mason a little bit. I'm the self-appointed conductor of the Blue Hicks hype train. I think that kid's special. So I am so excited to watch him play. I think really the most important part of football season is coming up with some takes before the game start, and then being proven right or wrong. So I'm really excited to be proven right about Blue Hicks. So I'd say that's the thing I'm looking forward to most about this football season. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to balance this out. I will go back to the defensive side of the ball. Give me the defensive tackle rotation. A defensive tackle rotation of Nick James, Fitzsimmons, Francis Brewu, and I literally should know this. I wrote my preview the other day.
Ghost.
Isaiah Neal. That top four has me feeling something special. And then you can throw in Whittington as your fifth man. I don't think it's far off to say that this is the best D tackle room we've ever seen on this team. And Steven, you said that preseason's all about getting your takes off. I got one for you right here. Francis Brewu, double-digit sacks. Call my shot on that one.
Wow. When's the last time that's how many guys have had double-digit sacks? Not even in like defensive tackles having double-digit sacks. That's. I mean, I'm sure Donald did it at some point in his career. I would.
Yeah.
But
I would have to think that Sue did it at some point at Nebraska.
Oh yeah, he definitely did. Yeah, man. If Aaron Donald ever played in like a conference championship game, like Ndamukong Suh did, he'd be thought of on like the same level. He's really not. Which sucks, but.
From a college perspective, you hear all the time about how dominant he was in the pros, and kind of the flip side, and Ndamukong Suh being like one of the most dominant defensive players in college of all time. Still had a great pro career, obviously, but you're so right. Like not a ton of people think like, oh, Aaron Donald was a beast in college.
Yeah, Donald did it twice. He had 11 sacks in 2011 and 2013. So.
I'll do it.
Jalen Twyman also had 10.5 sacks in 2019 as a sophomore. Unfortunately, his career did not go the way many thought it would.
Dude,
Damn.
that was. I used to have a DL gate Jalen Twyman jersey. I would get compliments on it all the time because he was like a Maryland area guy. And they're like, I played high school ball with him. I was like, that's crazy, dude.
And
also, I pulled up shot at sports reference. Oh, go ahead.
No, let's talk about it. I mean, Ndamukong Suh only 1 year with double-digit sacks. I mean, I don't know. Makes you think, doesn't it?
Wow.
People
Does Ndamukong Suh suck? Put that in the rage bait for clips for the show.
Okay, I can do. Before we rage bait farm any more stuff, I think let's get right into it with the offense. I'll be basically using my written preview as a spine for all this. If you want to check it out, I'll link it in the show notes. But um, I'm just going to really quick quarterback. I think everyone knows that it's going to be Eli Holstein playing quarterback for the Pitt Panthers. His backups are Cole Gonzalez, who is a Cade Bell veteran from Western Carolina, and true freshman Mason Heinschel, or Hinchel, I don't know how to say it. Um, Mason, you touched on it. The key to this offense going is Eli staying healthy. We'll get to the line later. I think also another big part of this is him stepping up and playing less bozo ball and less hero ball. I think that, you know, the hero ball worked in the first 6 weeks, right? But given how the O line broke down around him, he tended to rely on playing hero ball. That one led to a lot of picks in the latter half of the season when he was healthy, and then led to him getting injured because he didn't trust his pocket. But are we all in agreement that we think Eli Holstein is take a big step forward in year 2 as the starter here at Pitt?
I say yes, and I think in part because the supporting cast around him is going to be better too. I think there was an interesting quote or an interesting answer Pat Narduzzi gave one day, and I apologize because I'm paraphrasing him ever so slightly, but it was the gist of it was we don't want to have to put everything on Eli. I think there was a notion. I don't know if it's as strong now, but that kind of Eli was the savior, for lack of a better term, and I think in the second half of the season, it became pretty clear that not only was he was not the only good player on this team, but that he was maybe trying to do too much at some points. So I think between the improvements they made to the offensive line, another year of Desmond Reed, I think this receiver core is, I hesitate to say better. It's deeper. I think it's got more speed. I think it fits what K Bell wants to do better. I think that all combined with a year of kind of maturity, 10 starts or whatever that Eli has under his belt. I think that's all going to lead to a better year for Eli. So did Eli drastically improve, his skills, anything like that? I don't know. But I think that if nothing else, the players around him, the supporting cast, is a lot better this year, and I think that's gonna lead to a better year for him personally too.
I think that one of the things that will help Eli a lot is the offensive line with experience on that right side. Obviously, you talk about Ryan Baer now being starting right tackle. Kate Bell just said he dropped a few pounds and is in a lot better shape than he was last year. BJ Williams is a junior. He's been starting the last 3 years. You have Lyndon Cooper back at center for his second year, and you have transfers on that left side. Keith Gouveia out of Richmond, who had played in a very high tempo offense down there in at the FCS level. And then you obviously have Jeff Percy out of Michigan, and then obviously Kendall Stanley as well, who I think will be a suitable replacement wherever he is needed on that offensive line. So, I mean, I think having the experience that the O line has will give Eli the time to trust being in the pocket more and allow him to throw to people other than Des Reed. Obviously, who he wants to throw to, but we'll probably see a lot of, like Steven hinted at, like Blue Hicks and Kenny Johnson. Hopefully, will take a step forward this year, and that will all have to occur if Eli is able to trust his O line more. Which I think, as long as there's no serious injuries initially early on, he'll be able to do that, and that'll be very beneficial for Pitt.
It's like second year in the system too is huge, right? Like more familiar with the system. Coach is probably gonna let him conduct things a little bit more. So um, offense is already fast paced. Having a quarterback who's doing that now for the second time, you can obviously go a lot quicker, make a lot more changes at the line of scrimmage. You see it all the time, like how much better year 2 with the same coordinator can be. Doesn't matter what level of football you see it in the NFL, you see it in college all the time. When you're in that system and things are consistent, it does a lot for confidence. And given that we've kind of improved things around him too, like I think it's a pretty good recipe for success.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a little bit out of order here, because Dom, you touched on the O line, and I think that probably O line is the most interesting position group to talk about on the offense because, like you said, it's a lot of experience coming back, and I think that Percy and like going into this offseason, right? They knew they had an O line problem when they were putting in their backups last year. They were just simply not cutting the mustard, right? Like you look at the depth chart and all the guys who were backing up Bear and who were infills
Branson
once
Taylor.
Branson Taylor went down. Yeah, none of them are to be found anywhere except for Jackson Brown, who's now a guard. Um, and I do think that informs us a lot because they knew it was a problem. They went out and addressed it. You know, they got Gavea out of the FCS, who was a highly like he was a how would you say he was a top target for a lot of schools in the ACC. They wanted to have his services this year. Percy and Stanley give you two pretty good options on the left side at left tackle to protect the blind side. I think that Lyndon Cooper is the most important player on the entire offensive line. I think that the one start that he missed last year, Boston College, you saw how badly it went once he went down. BJ Williams, one of my, I think, really good O lineman. I think underrated on this team. And then I am in the Ryan Baer believer club. I will still say that he's been thrown into horrible situations the last couple of years. You know, being thrown in as a redshirt freshman and then being forced to swap to the left side of the line. I think he's still got to improve. He had some holding issues last year. He did make a little bit too many mistakes, but I'm all in on Ryan Baer now because he shaved his head bald. He is not trying to fight with that hairline anymore. I think he's going to be like straight up. That's going to make him a better player.
Yeah.
Right tackles should all be bald. If I learned anything with Lane Johnson playing for the Eagles, like it works. It's the blueprint.
Yeah, less time like
Who
working on
was
your
it that
hair and more more time in the film room. Yeah, that makes sense.
who flamed him last year? He had a pretty viral post where somebody was like, "How is this kid in college?"
It was
Oh, yeah.
Portnoy.
Was
Yeah.
it?
Portnoy.
Okay, I thought yeah.
And that's what got him banned from Ohio Stadium, folks.
There's
By Ross
actually
Bjork
so much
himself.
going
By
on
Ross
outside
Bjork
of just
himself.
pit football.
Dude, that was an insane story to break because it broke this morning. He's banned, and now he's not banned, but he's actually not going to any stadiums. And crazy day on the Everything app is what I'll say to that. But just wanted to say, offensive line starting five, I think is really good depth with Stanley. I like that, and also I am intrigued by Torian Chester being in the two deep as a true freshman. He's built like Godzilla. He is a true freshman. Auburn. We beat out Auburn in his recruitment. I don't want to see him play, not because I think he's bad, but because I want to see the starters play. But like Mason said, like Dom said, like Steven said, it's a much improved O line, and the team's going to be better for it. They attacked depth, and they saw a weakness, and they fixed it. I am pretty high on this O line on actually being able to fix the problems, and then I think Dom, you said it, but Cade Belson talking about their conditioning and how they're better suited for the system. Again, a year or two bump of being used to actually playing in this high speed system. Going to jump back up to running backs real quick. There's not enough. I can't really preview Des Reed because everyone knows is Des Reed. He's an All-American. He does everything. He's awesome. He finished like top 10 in all-purpose yards at the end of last year. He was competing with Ashton Genty for average all-purpose yards per game for a while there. The question is running back too. This is one area where the injury bug kind of carried over from last season. If you'll remember, Daniel Carter and Derek Davis both went out with season-ending injuries at different points last year. It's the Jules Goff show at running back too, and then also late Western Carolina transfer Jalen Williams, who is built like Mike Tolbert. Love that. I love a short and big running back. He's probably the closest thing you'll ever see to a fullback in a Cade Bell system, which they need, given that Eric Davis went down. But here's my question for our two beat reporters. Are we buying Jules Goff stepping it up this fall? Dom is shaking his fists and emoting like he just won the lottery.
Yes, I am. I think he's really, really, really talented. And I think that if he gets the chance to run a lot, which he is very good at, I think he's more of an every down kind of back than people think he is. I think he'll be really good. I think he's got a lot of speed and he's very, very strong. And I think that Des Reed having someone that can be relied on to run the ball a little bit more than maybe he does, because they want him to. Well, they want Des to run the ball, but they'll love him coming out of the backfield and getting in space and creating chaos. So like I like Jules Goff just in the sense of, Kate Bell talked about today, like wanting to be a power running team, and you need guys like Jules Goff, and so with the depth being at what it is, they really need him to step up. And I think as a redshirt freshman, he'll have that chance this year, and I think he'll do pretty well.
Yeah, I completely agree. Goff is like he's put together for a guy who's only really spent 1 year in college football, and a lot of that year was spent recovering from an injury that he suffered in preseason. He had a hand injury for I think well into November. So it was good timing when he was able to come back, but also because that's around when Davis and Daniel Carter went down, and Dez missed the Boston College game, I think. So
Yes.
but he also but like he didn't practice for a good chunk of the season, and that's really important for a freshman. Like forget game reps, like being able to actually learn the system in practice and everything is like super important. So him actually having like a normal off season, him being able to take reps and like I don't think Dez certainly did not participate in a scrimmage. I think basically all off season. He probably worked out a little bit, but I think to a certain extent, it's like this is Des Reed. Like we don't need to put him in. We need to put him through that many drills or whatever. Like we know what he can do, and I think that opened up some opportunities for Jewels to play like a first teamer, like he will at points this year. But also, like Jakari and Turner. Like apparently he's a special player. He's been banged up a little bit in training camp, but like I think it's kind of the same thing. Like these guys have been able to play, albeit in practice, but they're finally getting their first kind of normal college off season. I think that's going to be really huge for Goff, especially for Turner to a lesser extent. It's going to be huge for kind of the whole room behind what's his face, Desmond Reed.
Yeah, and I think I was just going through the stats from last year. I mean, outside of his 33 carry Herculean performance in the best worst bowl game ever, Reed was getting somewhere between like 13 and 16, like 13, 19 touches a game. So, he's an awesome player. He's still a smaller guy who you just with literal usage concerns need to go and spell him. So yeah, I think that Goff taking a step forward, and like you said, he didn't get much practice time at all. But him taking a step forward would be huge for this offense, if just to keep guys fresh with the pace they play at.
Yeah, and if I like, I had.
Oh, go
If
ahead.
I could just say real quick, this question was posed to me like earlier in training camp, but like someone asked me like, "Hey, like, is there any reason to expect Des Reed would be healthy for an entire season?" Like, no. Like Israel Abanikanda was built like a Greek god, and he missed a game and a half. During that 2022 season, like it's just the nature of like playing running back is you're going to get hurt and you're going to miss games. So Des Reed is not going to stay healthy. I think Joel Goff is going to be a fine fill-in for him. There you go.
I think that's fair. So next up is wide receivers. Obviously, you know that Kanate Montfield's off the NFL, made the Rams roster the other day. So shout out to him, as well as backyard brawl hero Dejon Reynolds leaving for UNLV, and I believe he scored against Idaho State. I think that Steven, you were correct in your assessment earlier that this wide receiver room is deeper than it has been in previous years or than last year, but it does lose its top end star. I think that losing Kanate Mumfield is going to be bigger for this team than I think a lot of people are thinking about, because in my assessment of the situation, right, you're bringing back three guys who have like significant experience in the system. That's Kenny Johnson and Poppy Williams and CJ Lee. CJ Lee, who's going to be out the first game with injury, I believe. You've got a couple of redshirt sophomores, Zion Fowlerell and Jesse Anderson. So that's five guys who have experience in the system, three who have game experience. And then I think the two guys I think is probably going to hinge on if this is going to take it to the next level, right? You mentioned earlier Blue Hicks, transferred from Louisville, and the 6'4" Deuce Span out of Florida State, who is kind of just a flyer. I'll let you talk about Blue Hicks in a second, but I'm just going to say I think that if Deuce Span can just be like a serviceable jump ball guy, that helps out everybody else because Kenny Johnson is a good receiver who I think has not taken that next step yet, and I think he's the one who needs to take that next step this year. But he's not 6'4", and Deuce Span is 6'4". You need a 6'4" guy just to make offenses work. Now, I'd like to give you your soapbox talk about one Blue Hicks.
Yeah, Blue Hicks. That's what I got, man. I wasn't really buying it. I think it's spring ball, but I hear Bell, I hear the rest of the coaching staff talk a little bit more about why it was tough to create big plays down the stretch of last season. And it's because they didn't really have much easy stuff. It was kind of pulling teeth towards the end of the year to get down the field and get into the end zone. You know, they were hitting 40-yard bombs with ease up until the Cal game last year. And then Cal, kind of exposed what you need to do to beat this defense. You had to have a bunch of good DBs, but also you kind of just had to, put three guys back, and just kind of play some zone and force a young quarterback, an offense that didn't really know itself yet, to be really disciplined in a way that it just wasn't really capable of, and go on these 10, 11, 12 play, 13 play drives. I think what Blue Hicks does, and he has shown it, he showed it in the spring game, had like a 65-yard catch and run touchdown. I think the ball was thrown to him behind the line of scrimmage, and then he ran for a touchdown. He's done a similar thing, I've heard in multiple scrimmages in the spring and in fall camp, where he's just taken a short pass and took it the distance. I think he can be a game breaker like that. So I think that's why I'm really excited about Deuce Span. I think the way they talk about, expanding the screen game, expanding catch and run opportunities, like this is a guy who fits just perfectly into what Cade Bell wants to do. And I could not be more excited about this guy. I think he is like Quadri Henderson light. If you remember him, I don't know if he has the same special teams ability, but as far as a catch and run guy, a guy who can create yards after the catch, he's short but not small. Like he's got some weight to him to be able to kind of run through tacklers and everything like that. He's my favorite player to talk to this offseason, especially because in his introductory press conference, like the first time he ever talked to like the local media, we asked him like, oh, what led you to transfer? And he was like, yeah, I knew at halftime of our bowl game that I was going to transfer because I only had one target and I thought I should have had more. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, all right, that's extremely honest, but I appreciate it. So yeah, I'm all in on Blue. I think he's got a lot of talent, but also just the real thing is the scheme fit. I think he's just a great fit for what Pitt wants to do. I think he's got good chemistry with Eli, and I'm really excited to see what he can do this year.
Even his name fits in better here.
Well, I don't know if I told you this one, but Blue Hicks is a great way to make fun of a Penn State tailgate lot. But yeah, no, I mean that's an all-time name, man. I think if you had a three-wide set with him, Poppy Williams, and Zion Fowler L is all-time name lineup.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very good name lineup. I really like it. A lot of fun. Should we talk about Poppy Williams? Because he's always open. At least that's what he says. And he'll have to be this year because the Pitt's going to need that.
Can he catch the ball?
What do you think, Steven? You think he's going to be doing that?
I think he'll be open.
I don't think he's lying when he says he's always open. He is always open. He does not always catch the ball.
Yeah.
And if he just starts catching the ball more, I'm fine with it. I think he's a really good player. I think that he just, for some reason, got hands of poop like from the Clemson game onwards. He needs to, not have rock hands. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like you said, man, this is a deep room. I'm excited to see what they can do. Just need to have a couple of guys like make up for Kanate's production because I want to say he led the team by a wide margin.
Yeah,
He
I think
also
he
finished
was.
10th, and I believe all-time receptions at Pitt in just 3 years. And his quarterbacks were Keaton Slovis, Christian Veillere, Pete, Phil Dracovic, and then prior to Mr. Holstein, and also Nate Yarnell, who's at Texas State.
You're also
Lost.
forgetting
Yeah,
David Lynch and Julian Duggar. He had
and
7 quarterbacks in 3 years.
no, he had Nick Patty
He didn't
too
play in the bowl
Nick
game
Patty.
in the
though.
Sun Bowl.
Yeah, Nick Patty. That's 8.
Well, he didn't play in the bowl game, so no Duggar, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, he didn't play.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like. I think it's pretty like Kenny's got to be that guy, or like I don't know who else would be who has the kind of versatility, and also just like put plain and simple, like the high end talent, like to be a Kanate Bumfield type player. It's kind of Kenny Johnson or nothing, at least in my mind. So, um, yeah, it's a kind of a prove it year for Kenny Johnson. I mean, it's I guess that's true for a lot of guys who are in their junior seasons and have been a starter for 3 years. Kenny Johnson, that's someone that I feel like we're not talking about a whole lot, myself included. Like I think we're all about like, oh man, Eli Holstein has to prove all this stuff to us. He has to really do it for a whole year. Like Kenny Johnson, I think is another guy who I think really has to do it for a whole year. Not everything about the offense was like, oh, like I don't think he kind of tailed off towards the end of last year too. It wasn't all his fault, obviously. Like it was kind of a collective failure of the offense, and some bad luck too. But like Kenny, let's see what you can do. You got a little bit more money this offseason. Let's see it, man. Let's be a number one receiver this year. I think that's really important too.
I really agree with that because I finally got the stats up. He was the third leading receiver on the team, 537 yards, but he only went over 100 yards in one game, 3 scores on the year, but only had 2 other games where he was over 50 yards and had 5 catches. Like I know that everything went to shit at a certain point, but he's got to be the guy moving forward because it's him or nobody. 6'4" Jaden Dunbar isn't going to be on campus till next year, so you better hope that she's Kennying on your Johnson. I had that queued up the whole time.
You have a soundboard?
I do have a soundboard. That's the only sound I have on it.
That's crazy. We got to find a way to get some Narduzzi sound bites on there.
Okay, I'll work on that for next week. I just ruined the wide receiver preview. Kenny Johnson, step it up. Blue Hicks, let's see what you can do. Does anyone have a tight end take? I really don't. I was trying to preview them. Okay, Dom, you have a tight end take. Hand up. Share with the class.
So I asked Kate Bell about the tight end room compared to last season. The one thing he said that struck out to me was that obviously Gavin Bartholomew is a big loss. I know some people have some different opinions on him, but he was very, very good when he was really on and really got the chances to prove himself, at least a little bit, at least especially last year. But he felt that like beyond Tim, he didn't have like the guy that he could rely on at tight end. But I asked him today, and he was like, "Well, I really feel like I have 3 guys that I can rely on at any time to really help this offense." Like, obviously, Jake Overman's in 6th year. You're hoping he can be a good veteran presence and catch some balls and move the ball down the field when necessary. You have Malachi Thomas, sophomore, came out of a high school where he basically was just throwing the ball all the time. It's a high tempo offense. Dunbar came out of that high school too. I can't remember the name of it, but it's in Georgia. So that's obviously Kate Bell's like hotbed right there. And then you get a transfer in Justin Holmes, who is mostly a blocker, but I mean, hey, you need a blocking tight end at some point, especially if you're going to run the ball. So you have a tight end room that I think is pretty solid overall. Max Hunt should also be pretty good, but I think as a true freshman, he'll probably redshirt and not play too much. But I think in the future, like he'll also be one of those guys that Kate Bell really likes to use in his offense to get him open. And so those 3 guys and Max Hunt as well, I'm excited for it. I think that they'll be a pretty solid group. I don't think they're going to have a star. Like I don't know if they're like any of those guys are going to be like stars, but I think they'll be at the worst serviceable guys in this offense.
Yeah, I have a Max Hunt take. I think that's like a superstar, dude. Like if he plays for Cade Bell for, 2 or 3 years, man, that's a star, dude. I like Max Hunt. I think it's weird
I've
that
been sitting on that take for a little bit.
yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
because
no.
I agree. I think that he's a year away because he's listed at 215 pounds. He is a
Yeah.
twig,
Yeah.
but his build and his catch ability, he's someone we're going to talk about in next year's preview.
Yeah.
Also, I'm
Well,
high on Malachi Thomas. I think he's a better route runner than Overman. But I literally, this is vibes only. I think he's a better route runner, and I think that's more important than, I don't know. Do you value Overman being like a better catcher and sort of a safety net, or Malachi being the more athletic tight end? I think that's up to personal preference.
yeah, I mean, like that's kind of the Max Hunt thing, right? Like it's like he's 215 pounds because he like well pretty much played receiver in high school. But I think like Pitt likes that. I think that's how in a Cade Bell offense, like yeah, you got to block, right? But like he wants you to make big plays in the passing game. Like come on, like we didn't come here to play school. We didn't come here to play blocking. Like like this is I like Jake Overman, kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. I think in my mind, that's my vision of him. You've only seen a little bit of him. I was really surprised when he wasn't like, um, it's like, yeah, Jake Overman, this guy's gonna be a captain, and he is like our best tight end. He's gonna play a ton, and like we're really happy with him. Like, no, they, kind of towards the end of camp, they were like, yeah, we're looking at these other guys. Like we feel like there's going to be a real rotation here. I thought that was odd to me, but I think that it also like kind of points to what you were talking about, Zach. Like they want guys who can catch the ball. So a guy like Malachi Thomas, who I think of more as kind of pass catcher, route runner versus like really good athlete versus Jake Overman, maybe a kind of dirty work type of guy, good blocker, can catch the occasional pass. Yeah, I get the feeling that in a Cade Bell system, guys who can be make an impact in the passing game are going to be more valuable and going to see the field more often.
Yeah. I think we're all on the same page there. Just gotta find the guy out of the stable of three, whether that's Overman, Thomas, or who's the Marshall kid?
Justin Holmes.
Justin Holmes. Whether it's one of those three has to be a serious pass threat, and obviously block a little bit because you do need to. You can't give away with your lineup. That's the offense. Honestly, I think knowing what we know from last year, knowing the composition of it, I would say the really only question mark is that running back. I think they addressed their O line issues. I'm high on it. I think we're all high on the offense. Year two, obviously. Um, Real quick before we go to defense, I'll do special teams. So we don't save it for the end. Kicker, obviously Ben Sauls is gone off to the NFL. Unfortunate that he got picked by the Steelers because it would have taken Chris Boswell dying for him to make that roster. But so the winner of the kicking battle is true freshman Trey Butkowski. To the guy on Twitter who's complaining that he was a walk-on, 99% of college kickers are walk-ons until they win the starting job. Stop going around saying that. Listen, I'm not going to go on a podcast and tell you that a freshman college kicker is going to be good. I would have a better chance of winning the lottery than getting that right any season for any team. Apparently, he can hit from long. Wait and see. I think that honestly, while Ben Sauls was excellent and a deep threat bomb for easy points, I think that having a freshman kicker makes you a little bit more aggressive between the 25 and the 40 because you do not have that automatic three, and it forces you to play for seven more or to at least get into a range where he's more comfortable. It's a bad thing for sure, but it can be a positive in that sense. Just game strategy wise. I don't know how you all feel about that.
I love the spin zone. I like it.
I don't even think that's a spin zone. I think that's a legitimate tactical thing, right? Because obviously, like when the offense was turtling, they could lean back on Sauls in the latter half of the year. But the offense was turtling too. That's the other thing to say. But with the offense on full go from the start, why would you settle for a long field goal with a guy who can make them but is a freshman and is unproven, then rather just go for it?
Listen, I'm with you. That's just not the Narduzzi way. If this is going to make Narduzzi a little bit more Dan Campbell, I'm fine with that, and I hope it does.
I'm gonna say something on that. That Narduzzi did earn that reputation with his gigantic fuck ups for about 6 years. Okay, he stopped doing that in 2021. He actually got very aggressive. I mean, if I remember the Clemson game, that fourth down touchdown pass to Taysir Mack, it was like somebody probably had a gun to Pat Narduzzi's head and said, "If you stop this play call, we're killing you on the sideline." Right? Frank Signetti, different story. But once he gets fired, he goes back to being aggressive while he has a serviceable offense. While he still has healthy players. Right? I think that in the general mindset, he still has that reputation because of that fucking Penn State game. But I think he's really stopped doing that writ large. I don't know if that's Homer fan blindness, but I think since that ill-fated field goal against Penn State, he has gotten better about it.
Yes, I think this is backed up with
Fair.
at
That's
least
something that I'll
some.
have to.
It's backed up with some at least some empirical evidence from last year. Hold on. Shout out to one of our editors over at the PG, Kevin Murphy. He sent me this article on going for 2 pointers at least, which I feel like is correlated to um, uh, like fourth down attempts.
Aggressiveness.
Yeah, it's just like general aggressiveness. But Pitt attempted 10 and converted 5 2-point tries last season. Good for second nationally. Now, that's inflated by 5 attempts in the Game of Sports Bowl. In one of the worst days of my life, for a number of reasons. But like that, but still, like that's I think there is a general kind of shift in attitude, not just with the aggressiveness stuff, but in a lot of different ways. Like Pat, I'm sorry, I forget who said it. I think it was Zach, but like he had a reputation that is maybe not totally in line with who he is today. He has the man has grown a lot, and I think people um, don't give him a ton of credit, or maybe as much deserved credit. I think for not being as stubborn as he used to be. I'm not going to say he's innovative or anything like that, but he's not as stubborn as he used to be.
Did you want to talk? I mean, I don't know if I can comment on him not being stubborn because he did in that bowl game. They were like at the 1 yard line or 2 yard line on fourth down and like whatever overtime it was, and he still kicked the field goal instead of just going for it again. Because remember
Well,
they
what?
tried that that play with like Neil threw the ball to like Ghost threw the ball to Bartholomew, which
Yeah,
was a weird play,
No,
which
it's
would have been
other way around. Other
unbelievable.
way around.
Oh, it was Bartholomew to Ghost,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Well,
So and then they kicked the
yeah,
field goal. So like he's always going to be a little stubborn. I mean, that bowl game isn't that big of a deal, really. Just a thought right there. That was the
yeah,
last game they played.
yeah. I mean, like, look, like the quality of your play call in that situation, I think, depends entirely on whether it works or not, like whether you win the game or not. Which
Yes.
and
Yes.
but also like you're Pitt playing Toledo. Like, no offense to Toledo, like they're a good team. I already put a bet down for them to beat Kentucky in week one. But like you should assume that you're able to beat that team down to down. Like kicking a field goal there, like I think part of his assumption was like the odds that we're able to hold them out on 1 2-point conversion, we're able to convert one, fairly high. Whether that was misguided or not. I think that was where he was at. That was where his head was at least. Or at least that's what I feel like people talk about. Like they
I'm
always
gonna
complain about.
relitigate the Gavin. I'm sorry.
No. Just like that was the thing after the Georgia Tech game. Like people were pissed at Georgia Tech for maybe not going for two at one point in overtime, maybe in the second overtime. Like there's one point in that game where people were like, why are you trying to extend a game against Georgia, a team that you're definitely not better than? I don't know. Anyway,
I think it was they didn't go for two at the end of the first overtime to just end it there, which I'm always of the most of the because again, worst overtime rules of all time. Don't know why they changed them, but yeah, they never changed them. But yeah, if you have the ball second, go for two. Try and win the game. I'm going to relitigate that Gavin Bartholomew to Isaiah Neal pass one final time because Dom, you reopened a wound I forgot I had on my brain. Um, that play call was devised and it was called because if it worked, it would have had swag. Basically, it was a swag call because think about if it works, right? Bartholomew's final game, he goes out with a trick play touchdown to seal it, right? And you win your game. It doesn't work. You look like a giant jackass, and you probably should have. Yeah, he just didn't catch the ball. Thanks, Don, for typing that in. Neil didn't catch the ball. Um, yeah, you look like a giant jackass. Whatever. I'm all riled up now. Let's talk about fucking punters. It's Caleb Junko, who I literally did not think had any other eligibility left. I was shocked to find out he was punter one on the depth chart. It's Caleb Junko.
He's also the holder too, so hopefully he doesn't get injured holding the ball on like a field goal or something. Which is fine, but like last year they had like Cam Gass holding, like who was not playing much, so like if he got injured then Junko would have filled in, but like now Junko is number one holder, so interesting to see there that he'll be holding the ball.
Love to see the promo there. I also lived in the same dorm as Cam Guess's older brother as a freshman.
wow.
Zach, I have a point to make about just kicker before we move on. Bukowski is the field goal kicker, but he's not the kickoff guy. Sam Carpenter is the kickoff guy. I asked Bernard Dizzy about that the other day, and he was like, "Yeah, there's still a little battle going on there." I was like, "Okay, I guess they're not. I think they're not like solid on like who's going to be the guy going forward, which is why they have them both out there. But I guess for right now, they're like Bukowski is the field goal guy, and then you have Carpenter if things go really bad, I guess. But that's kind of what it seems like. That's what he was saying, but maybe he's just like playing up something, maybe to play something up. Because I asked him a question. I don't know. It was just interesting because like obviously Sauls was the guy for both the last year and the year before. So
Well, I
Well, if we
think
want to talk about pattern recognition, I'll point out in 2021, it was Scarton on kickoffs and Sauls on field goals. So I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I think both freshmen. No, Carpenter's a sophomore. Richard's
he's a
sophomore.
redshirt
Okay.
sophomore, yeah. So, but I think Steven had something to say about the
Yeah,
kickers before we move on to.
yeah, I just think like the kicker thing is like one guy clearly has a stronger leg, and another guy has the more accurate leg. That's how I kind of read it.
Mm-hmm.
But I could be wrong too. Maybe there is still like a real. You never really know with Pat. Also, fuck it. I'm gonna say this right now. People are stuck on 2023 Caleb Junko, man. Like he was fine last year. He was fine. He was.
He was. He was.
He was. We need to society. We need to get over this. I think Caleb Junko. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that he will even be good this year. I think he's gonna be good. Not even just fine. I think he'll be good.
He was pretty good last year. He was on the Ray guy watch list until the middle of the season. So I mean, he was doing pretty well early on. But I mean, if he can just have some consistency, I think that's all Pitt really needs out of him. So as long as he does that, it should be good.
Was it Junko who had the long ass punt in the Sun Bowl? Was that him? Like the 90 something yard punt?
Yeah, it had to be him because that year they had three different punters, right? Remember, and he was like the last one. He won the punting job at the end of the year because like Vanderhaar was not the guy clearly.
Was Vanderhaar's dad the one that got really mad on Twitter when he lost the job? I vaguely remember that. Dom's laugh is telling me yes. Okay, I did remember that correctly. Okay. That's special teams. It is what it is.
Should we talk about returning? Do you guys like Des Reed a returner? Is that okay with you? Should someone else do that? Or
He's a
just,
good returner. I like
I mean,
it.
yeah, but just in terms of like maybe an injury, like you don't want your main guy to be taking punts or whatever just because you don't want him to get injured. But I like him as a punt
I,
returner.
I don't, and I'll tell you why. Because like, how many yards did he get? So, he had an awesome, punt return against Kent State. That's great. Did they really need that touchdown to win that game? How much value did Des Reed add as a punt returner last year? Like, do any of us like really think that like he was a game changer as a punt returner last year? Like, and it's not like he got hurt on any of those like returns or anything like that. I think it's unnecessary. I thought this back in 2021 when damn it. Sorry, I'm in a draft and someone took Lenore's Sellers. That's fucked up. Before I could, but he like I thought the same thing about Jordan Addison back in 2021. I'm like, why are we doing this? Like, this is why would you even risk someone getting hurt on special teams when they are literally your best playmaker? I think that's useless. I know they want to like prioritize special teams, like put all their best players on there, but um, that is I don't know. I just think it's unnecessary, and it's not like they don't have fast guys. Like put Blue Hicks back there on punt returns. Put Kenny Johnson back there. Like put someone.
I
You
liked,
know, it's
yeah, I liked when they used Tyreek Robinson towards the end of the year on kick returns. Like that's a guy. I see it both ways. Where like you put your best guys back there for some coaches, and other coaches like just put the fast guys back there. Um, I have bad news for you, Stephen, because the top three punt returners are Des Reed, Kenny Johnson, and Poppy Williams. So literally your top three wide receivers.
yeah, like, I don't know. They're still like, all due respect, they're still like not nearly as important as Des Reed. Like yeah, I just I would rather they fair catch every punt, to be quite honest with you, than put Des Reed back there. Like I just think I just don't think it's a value to them.
Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely a matter of personal preference. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I would probably prefer them to use Tyreek Robinson or something like that. I'm actually looking at their punt return yard stats from last year, and other than Desiree long one against Kent State, there was literally nothing of note on that front. Sorry, Dom, you have one last thing to say about kicker before we move to defense.
Yeah, James London, Murray State transfer, lost the job, obviously, at kicker. Sorry about your jokes, Zach. You won't be able to get them off this year, but he left the program too. So I just thought it interesting to see he lost out, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm just leaving."
Dude, that first AU, for Werewolves of London after he hit a kick was going to hit like crack. Unfortunately, we have to settle for Kick Batowski as our starting kicker, which I think is a fair get. Let's talk defense. Let's talk Pat Narduzzi's side of the ball. We'll start on the D line. I mentioned this earlier. I kind of did the preview at the top of the show, but yeah, the D tackles are really good. Isaiah Neal, Francis Braywu, Nick James, Sean Fitzsimmons. I still think that's probably the best four Narduzzi's ever had. You have Jasir Whittington, who's going to be the fifth man, who's going to see some time. Bree was a freak. The question here is at the end. Jimmy Scott is a known quantity. He's a good edge rusher. He is the reason that we won the Cal and West Virginia games. Straight up, his sack on Garrett Green forced a punt, led to the final score, and then his 3 sacks against Cal were straight up the difference in that game. The other D end is the question. I think the biggest loss of the season in the portal, or really besides Kanate Mumpfield, is Sincere Edwards leaving the program, going back home to UCF. I'm not going to blame a 19-year-old kid for transferring back closer to home, and also the coach that recruited him went to the NFL like a month after he got to campus. So it's whatever. Would have loved to have him. I have no ill will towards him, but DN2, it looks like from the first depth chart, is going to be some sort of competition between Utah State transfer Blaine Spires and Oregon transfer Jaden Moore. Also going off the depth chart, looks like the other guys in the mix behind Jimmy Scott is redshirt sophomore Zach Crothers and redshirt sophomore Maverick Gracio, who you might know from when he blocked the punt against West Virginia last year. DN2, that is the question on the defense for me, because the D tackle is good enough to hold their own. You might as well, I don't know, play Braywood edge, see what happens. But it's DN2 because the pressure has been iffy in since 2022, and they need a guy opposite Scott that teams can't pick on, basically. And I think that having four beasts up front where you can kind of soak up blocks and having a guy who's athletic and strong as Braywood to wreak havoc is good. You still need to figure out DN2 and you need to figure out fast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like just like last year, they didn't have enough production from their defensive ends at like Matlack and Borders, and I mean, obviously, like Scott had a really good game against Cal, but you probably want that more often than not than just like that one game where he got like conference player of the week honors, I believe, and then like Edwards is good, but he's not here anymore, right? So it's like you really need one of these transfer guys to just step up.
Yeah, I think Jimmy Scott's could be really, really good. That's another one of my guys. He had like 6 sacks last year, and I can recall like I
Six
mean,
sacks, 13 tackles for loss.
yeah, he left so many plays on the board, like it was unbelievable. I um, I think he's really, really good. And so I think like there were so many plays out there for him to make. If he can literally just wrap a guy up a couple more times than he used to, like he's a double digit sack guy in my mind. Like that's my bar for him. Like I think he's that good. Um, yeah, I mean, like you guys all said, like you got to figure out the defensive end two spot. I think they have enough bodies there. Like Nate Matlack was kind of similar to Jimmy, where he just how many times in that Cincinnati game did he have six? Did he have Brendan Sorsby in his arms and he just slipped away? I think if you
Not just
get
that game. He would,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But like I think Blaine Spires is better. Can he stay healthy? That's the big question. I think he's a more talented
Mm-hmm.
player. I know Jaden Moore is a more talented player. TBD. I sort of like what I saw out of Joey Zielinski during training camp. I think he's a little twitchier than I expected, but yeah, there's got to be someone to rise out of there. And you haven't we haven't really heard about anyone who's actually kind of stepping up in that sense. So I'm curious. I'm curious about the defensive ends. I think there are some options, but who's going to actually rise above that crop? I'm interested to see. I think if Jimmy Scott, obviously if Jimmy Scott plays to the level that I think he does, and if the linebackers play healthy, stay healthy, I'm not as concerned about that defensive end spot. Like I don't know, Joey Zielinski, go hold up an offensive tackle while Rasheem Biles goes crazy off the edge, and I think you're fine. But yeah, but if teams are paying if they're sending an extra blocker or a running back is going out to chip Rasheem Biles and like he's also getting a tackle in his face, like then you need another defensive end to step up and keep teams honest. I think it's the kind of thing where on paper I like what I see from the defensive ends, but until I actually see them on the field, I really can't comment. I think you hit on the defensive tackles. Like I have no concerns there, like absolutely zero. Starting level talent, depth, all that I think is fine. But you do have to find I think at least one more defensive end who is somewhere in between a backup and what I think Jimmy Scott is. I don't think you need another superstar there, but you need a body at least. You need a starting body.
I agree with that point of view because I'm of the same way. Like I think Jimmy Scott's a budding superstar, New York boy. That's my guy. It's really just a matter of can you find one guy who is playable across from him and can do his job if he's not a superstar putting up numbers like the rest of the line is, and can you find two bodies that can give them a drive off? Like that's the question. We know Nerdy likes his hockey line shifts on the D line. Um, I don't know. Maybe they just do what they did with Cansey in 2022, and they just put like Cansey. Like remember when they were putting Cansey at DN for fun in 2022? Maybe just take one of your 5D tackles and put them on the end. Who the fuck cares? Could be fun.
Yeah, throw Sean Fitzsimmons out there. Like, he's fast. Do it. Go for it. I don't care. Yeah, like I think you like in on the defensive line, like prioritize the playmakers. Like I think you'll have enough. They have enough like solid rotation guys, but it's just really all about like maximizing what the linebackers do first of all, but maximizing what your superstars. Which I think this year it's gonna be Brew and Scott. So find ways for them to make plays. Everything else I think will fall into place.
Yeah, keep Nate Matlack off the field, but I didn't say that. Before we go to linebackers, because those are the stars of the team. DN's the biggest question, I think, in my opinion, just on the entire roster as a whole. I'm gonna put it out there. I don't like the number changes I've seen from the D tackle room. I think they're fantastic. I think that Isaiah Neal wearing 2 and Jasir Whittington wearing 4, thumbs down from me. 25 was already pushing it for me from Whittington last year. 2 and 4, those are all American defensive end numbers. Not a D tackles wear 90s. I'm old fashioned like that. But whatever, I don't know. College is funky like that. Linebackers, I mean, do we even need to preview Kyle Lewis, Braylon Lovelace, and Rasheem Biles? Kyle Lewis is an All-American. Rasheem Biles, I believe, was All-ACC and is frankly an All-American candidate in his own right. Braylon Lovelace is another All-ACC candidate. I think he is the guy who's slept on the most out of these three. Dom got to it earlier. The depth here is a little bit thinner than it was coming into camp. Jeremiah Marcelin and Jaden Bonsu are out with injury. But a redshirt sophomore, Cam Lindsey, is sort of the backup at 2 of those spots. Behind him, it's a little bit sketchy, but you know him, you love him. It's the Sharks. Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is that like I think Lovelace and Biles are Lewis and Biles are better players, but Lovelace seems like the player they can least afford to lose out of that group now. After those 2 injuries, like I'm fairly comfortable with Cam Lindsey sliding in at the outside at any given moment. But losing Lovelace, like God love him, Nick Lappy. I don't think you're a starting linebacker on like an 8-win ACC team. I just like I don't know. Sorry, but like I just don't think that's reality. So if we're talking about okay, where are the spots in the linebacker room with a little give? Where can we like survive another injury or not? I don't think it's at the middle. Like I would be deathly afraid of losing Braylon Lovelace to an injury if I was this Pitt team.
Thank you for saying what I was thinking, because when I saw the depth chart, I said the same thing. Like you mentioned, Lindsey is listed as a backup for both Star and Money, which are the outside linebackers in this system. The Mike linebackers behind Braylon Lovelace are Nick Lappy and Abe Ibrahim. I'm glad they got their position on the depth chart. I'm not comfortable with them starting multiple games for this team at the as the leader of the front 7, basically.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really want a former walk-on and a current walk-on starting on your team. Not in the bad way, but like, these guys are walk-ons for a reason. There's very few guys that really go from walk-on to being serious, like really good caliber, like ACC caliber players. Like Jimmy Morrissey's one of those guys, but it's more of like a rarity than it is a commonality, I think. And that's okay. Like walk-on guys are very important for the team. They're important for like practices and just having a whole team and having someone healthy to go and like run offenses with or defenses with. Like coaches will tell you that all the time, which is why they're all pissy about like the roster limits and stuff like that. Because like, well, we need these walk on guys to help us out. And sometimes they do come in handy, but we'll see. I mean, I think they were. I know Narduzzi was talking about Lappy. Maybe he has improved since earning his scholarship in 2023. Maybe he really is a decent backup guy, but we'll have to wait and see. But just the stars are the stars, and the backups, God help them, except for Lindsey, I'd say.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm expecting a 4-pick-6 game from them this fall. That's all I can say. They've set the standard very high for themselves. Anything else on linebackers? I want to round this out with the secondary. Okay. The secondary is honestly the room with the least amount of intrigue, besides like quarterback and running back. It's who I expected it to be. It's 2 stars returning from last year at corner with Timon Lime and Rashad Battle. And then looks like Shadarian Harrison is going to be that third guy coming in, rotating in. Safeties are Cruz Brookins and Javon McIntyre. Cruz Brookins is one of my guys this year. Love him. I think he's a great player. Losing Gandy to Indiana was tough. I still think that they have good, experienced corners in the system. I think that this is, while it's not the best secondary they've ever had, losing Battle, losing McMillan is going to be tough for this team. It's fine, I think. It's going to take a while to gel. They're going to give up long passes. You're going to want to punch a hole in your wall when they do. It happens every year. But I like Lineman and Battle a lot. They both defended, I think, 7 or 8 passes last year. So, they're pretty good cover corners. They're the corners that Narduzzi wants. They're going to get called for DPI. They're going to give up big passes. That is more the system than the player. What can you say?
I know what I can say. I have not nearly as much faith in those 2 corners as you do. In fact, I think that those 2 are not your starting corners by the end of the year. How about that? I'm kind of all in
Okay.
on. Well, the guy who I thought was going to replace them, Rashawn Murray, does not seem to be as good as I thought he was going to be. Like he's like a third stringer on the depth chart. But I just I don't. I think you could get similar production out of a freshman Sean Lee or a first year starter Shadarian Harrison if you threw him right in the fire. I don't think those guys are meaningfully worse. I think they just have less experience, meaningfully less talented. They just have less experience. I if I was running this team, I don't know. I guess I don't see every bit of practice, but I was not blown away with Lynham or Battle last year. I don't know. I would invest in the youth, I guess. I would invest the guys who could maybe be here a little longer term. I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe the safe bet is the right bet, but I'm not sold on either Battle or Lynham. I think there's a reason there's those 2 guys, I think, in there. Maybe Lynham's only in his 5th year, but Battle in his 6th or 7th year, I want to say. Yeah.
Yeah, he's old.
Yeah. Injuries.
Both are in their 6 years.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a reason those 2 guys are still here. Quite honestly, so I would bank on the higher upside guys, which are Sean Lee or Sharian Harrison and Rashawn Murray. I need you, buddy. I've been on Rashawn Murray Island all off season, and it doesn't seem to be going anywhere. So.
Pitt did lose Rylan Gandy to Indiana. He transferred there at the end of the offseason. And that he was a starter, so it's Lynham wasn't. At least I believe Battle was a starter for most of the season, if I remember correctly from last year. So you do have you have to believe these veterans can come through and be the guys in that secondary, and especially a corner, which is it's tough to play in that Pitt secondary, as we know, but it does make you better for the pros. And if it works well, then it works awesome. But it'll be interesting to see. I just think I'm a little bit with Steven. I'm not the highest on either guy. Not that I have anything against them, obviously. I think they're decent guys, but it's if they're going to get picked apart, it's going to happen at some point this season, I think. It's not like they're not talented guys. It's more just they're just not top tier cornerbacks in college football. They're I think at best they're pretty solid, which is what Pitt will probably need. I think if the offense is good enough, then if the defense gives them some points, they probably won't be in hell, I guess.
Yeah, I think I'd share your concerns. I'm not trying to like paper over it. It's just that yeah, they're fine. I think that I want to say one of you two posted, but they're basically treating Harrison like a third starter, which I'm very excited for. And then I am very excited to see Sean Lee as like maybe like a fourth guy rotating in, just in case. But very excited for him. He's a crazy athlete. Definitely agree that these are like not the worst corners we've ever had, but like I would say maybe the least exciting corner room I can remember in a couple years. We're coming off some years with some really really good corners for Pitt, and um, you're right. They're 6 year players. Obviously, Battle is injury marred career, but they're not the best. I think that they'll work given the quality of the front seven. They don't have to play as good as other years. Like last year, it was they really had to be on their toes and they got picked apart for it. But um, well, I
Yeah, I
wouldn't say it's a
guess.
question mark. Maybe I would say the weakness is cornerback
Yeah, I would
on
agree with
defense.
that. I would agree with that. I think you also make a good point that maybe I'm not giving enough like credence to. Like if the defensive line is better and more consistent for a full year, like we probably don't see. I probably don't think that Lineham and what's his face Rashad Battle or I probably don't look on them as unfavorably as I do right now. So I think that's fair. I probably need to check some of my priors on that. And if the defensive line's as good as we think uh, as we think they are, then you know then might not totally matter who's at corner, and maybe we look at those two veteran guys a little differently.
I also think having Brookins over the top at safety helps a lot with the corners because if a corner gets beat in the system, they get beat deep. I think Brookins is a great athlete on that front, and he showed off some cover skills last year. I think he's a guy who's gonna take a really big step forward, local kid, but I think he's a plus to have on the back end. The experience of I always forget which one's staying. The experience of Javon McIntyre is good. That's what I'll say about Javon McIntyre. Um, I think losing McMillan's probably maybe the single biggest graduation on this defense. I think Kanade for the other side of the ball, McMillan for this side of the ball, who made the Browns training camp roster or made the Browns 53 man roster. So shout out to McMillan for that as well. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Brookins is one of those guys that like they can't help. The coaching staff can't help but like gush about. And it was Jim Hammett who said this to me walking out of practice one day. He's actually said it to me a couple times, but like Pitt's pretty bad at hiding when they have like a special player. And Brookins is one of those guys. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, like they when Jordan Addison was there, like they could not stop talking about that guy. And I think Brookins is like it's a full off season, and it's tough not to hear that guy's name in a press conference or something like that when you're talking on the defensive side of the ball. That's another one that like we're looking at him to be a superstar. And I think the big thing for him is just like it's everyone is stepping up into kind of a new role, but it's like can you do it every down? Can you be that guy who's not just in the Delta package, making a couple big plays when you're juiced up? Like, can you be disciplined enough to kind of keep your head on straight when the bullets are flying and when you're not, in position to get a pick? That's that's the stuff I'm interested in from him. But everything points to him being a pretty special guy. And so if Javon McIntyre can just kind of not, Javon got beat a lot in coverage, and that's kind of been not consistent throughout his career. It was a bit of an anomaly last year. But if McIntyre cannot be as much reliability in the passing game as he was last year, then Pitt's kind of in business at the safety spot and in the secondary.
They've also been talking a lot, at least about in the safety spot, Josh Guerriere. They've been hyping him up a lot too. So I mean, I think that's one guy that Pitt fans should be watching out for this year. Out of Florida, really talented kid. I think he was listed as an athlete as a recruit, so obviously that helps. But he's obviously in the secondary, safety, true freshman. He's on the back depth chart, so could see him this year. They got looks like they got some really good guys in that secondary as true freshmen. That's always a good sign for building for the future. So never hurts.
Yeah, I will say, just closing this out. 14 oars on the depth chart this year, but we kind of hinted at it. There are a lot of freshmen in this two deep, or three deep at some positions. Like the top end talent is there, but I think this staff is high on a lot of guys, and we've touched on some of these names. You just mentioned Gruyere, Sean Lee Jr., true freshman at corner out of Harrisburg. Torian Chester is listed on the depth chart at O-line, true freshman. I mentioned him earlier. I think there are two or three in the wide receiver depth chart. You've got listing Jakarian Turner, you mentioned earlier, at the running back. Like, they're starting to see a lot from these recent recruiting classes, and I think the speed of these guys, especially on offense, is what's showing. I don't know. Just to recap the defense, though, linebackers good, D tackles good, Jimmy Scott good, safeties. I like Chris Brookins, Javon McIntyre, just play better. Corners, corners and DN too. That's what you're looking out for in these first two games. You're finding out who your guys are against Duquesne, against Central Michigan, and you're just figuring out who's going to be playing against West Virginia and Louisville. That's really what these first two games are about. I don't think I have anything else on the team. Want to go over schedule real quick?
Let's do it.
Okay. You probably know this by now, but we'll just go ahead through the schedule real quick. Pitt starts the year off with 2-game homestand against Duquesne and Central Michigan. Then on September 13th, going to West Virginia for the final game of the 4-year Backyard Brawl Series. Please extend it past the next one. Before their first bye week, they then get a 6-game stretch, including Louisville at home, Boston College at home, going to Florida State and Syracuse before getting NC State at home and Stanford on the road before their second bye week in early November. And then it comes down, you've probably thought about it, you've probably just had nightmares about it, the final 3-game stretch against probably you're catching 2 of the top 5 teams in the conference and Notre Dame. You get Notre Dame at home on the 15th. You go to Georgia Tech the next week, and you get Miami at home to close out the year. Miami, Georgia Tech. Miami's talented. Georgia Tech, I'm high on. Louisville is going to have a good offense. That's what I can say about Louisville. Other than that, and obviously West Virginia's West Virginia. Anything can happen, as we've seen in the last 3 years. Are you guys going to kill me if I say it's a favorable schedule this year? Because I think it is.
That's like not how I've been kind of looking at it this offseason. Like, I think this is a much harder schedule than last year. I think, maybe it's just more balanced because you get Louisville earlier in the year. But like, I think swapping out Cincinnati for Notre Dame in the non-conference schedule is like that sucks. West Virginia is probably worse, like maybe, who knows? Like, I don't know if Rich Rod is like bluffing when he says like my team is ass, like in every press conference. But like,
Yeah.
I think also like, you get Miami, but that's at home and, it's at the end of the year. Like, the likelihood that, they get their teeth kicked in by Notre Dame. I forget who else is on Miami's schedule, but they got to play Florida in like week 4 too. They got to play Florida State. They'll probably beat them. They have one other. They got to go to SMU, and I don't think they play Clemson. But like Miami's got like a tough schedule, and if they like the likelihood that they, I think the likelihood that they are, they have 7 wins by that last game and kind of given up on the season, the likelihood of that and like the likelihood that they're in playoff position by the end of the year or like in kind of the outskirts of that conversation, that seems just as likely. So like I don't know, I'm not particularly scared of Miami just yet, but like Louisville is, I think, in my mind, going to be better than they were last year. I think Georgia Tech is I think they're an ACC championship team. I think they're a team that could make the playoff. Maybe I'm a little bit higher on them than everyone else. Interested to see what Syracuse is. I think there are a couple of hinge games, Louisville being one of them. But I think this is a more difficult schedule, mostly just because it's more balanced. Like you're not going to get the kind of smooth runway into the meat of your schedule in October and November that you did last year.
I see the argument. I do. I think that I agree with you that getting Miami at the end of the year is better than getting them in September because the likelihood they just quit on the season is always hovering around like 30% basically. Mario Cristobal seems to get dumber with in-game decisions as the year goes on. I'm also similarly high on Georgia Tech. That final 3-game stretch, there's no way to put it. It's brutal. Georgia Tech's a good team. Notre Dame is a top 5 team, and Miami is super talented. I'm lower on Louisville than you. I think they have a good I think they have a fantastic offense. Louisville does not have a defense. Mm-hmm. They lost like a gazillion guys and like I think 5 to like NFL rosters in the offseason. Like that's going to be a weakness for them. But I'm down on Syracuse. Go look at Syracuse's schedule from last year. They had maybe the easiest schedule in the entire conference. And they have Steve Angeli playing quarterback, who I'm not particularly high on. But I think that middle 5 between Boston College, bad luck against that team, but between Boston College, Florida State, Syracuse, NC State, Stanford, I like that stretch. I really do, because you're not getting a lot of top end of the conference teams. I think Miami and Georgia Tech are at top 5. Louisville is borderline because of their offense. It almost feels to me like, yes, there are more hinge games early, but it's basically they took last year's schedule and they put all the hard games instead of like spacing them out over the final. Instead of putting them in the middle of the schedule, they put them all at the end of the schedule, which is frankly more terrifying.
Well, hey, at least
through and I was counting.
Go ahead, Mason.
And I see 5. Nothing is for sure in college football, right? But I see 5 variable win of games in Duquesne, Central Michigan, Stanford, NC State, Boston College. So what is that? No, 6.
That's 5.
All right, bad math moment. Like you said, there are a bunch of other hinge games too. Like I think this team could win 7 or 8 games. But there's also like that chance that some of those hinge games don't go our way and this becomes like a 5-win team. So I'd like to be in the more optimistic view that we can obviously beat West Virginia, right? Zach, what you said about Louisville, a couple of these other games that are very gettable, but yeah, it's very different than last year. Like I don't foresee us being ranked 17th in the country going into week 7 or whatever it was last year.
If they beat Louisville,
I think
because I really don't, I've maybe so much knock on wood while I say this, I really cannot imagine them losing to West Virginia. I really don't see that happening. So I have a feeling they're going to be three
I
and zero going into that Louisville game.
it's my take on the West Virginia thing is that I am much more concerned with that game on the road than I am with Florida State. I'm out on Florida State this year. I think that they are a bottom half of the league team, even though they have like talent. I don't think that they're particularly well put together, and like the fact that they're shit talking the way they are when they have Alabama week one.
Yeah, I was
That's
gonna say
a
we'll find
giant
out real
siren going off
quick.
in my head. They're
We'll
gonna
we'll
find out
find
real
out
quick.
real quick if they're good or not.
Like, listen, I daydream about putting 70 on Rich Rod in his return to the brawl. I think about it maybe 3 times a week.
I know it's not a revenge game from last year, but it is a revenge game from the last time we were on the road there. That was not a very fun experience. So would love
Shit, it's
to,
a
That's
revenge game for Rich
yeah.
Rod. This is the last time he's been. Last time he's not by that point. It's not going to be the last. But the last game he coached for West Virginia was in 2007, and
yeah,
didn't go very well for him.
yeah. I don't
It's
know.
on
There's an
9/13
evil.
now.
Yeah, yeah. There's so much shit going on with that game. The date, the fact that Rich Rod's coming back, the fact that it's in Morgantown, which is a stadium with an evil aura. Um, Listen, fun place to tailgate, but it's evil. I'll put it out there. Um, I think we can beat him. I am not sold on anything on West Virginia's roster. Nico Marchiol is a okay quarterback, but apparently they're playing 5 of them at this point. So who knows with that roster? My thing is just get to 3-0 because I'm going to put this out there. If they lose to this West Virginia team, Narduzzi is back on the hot seat for me. I don't care. You cannot with this level of like cosmic shit, right? Rich Rod back 9-13, fucking last game of a 4-game series before 3-year break. Which, by the way, fuck you to both ads for not rescheduling it during that break when W got out of the Alabama series. I know it didn't work, but with like the home and away shit, and I know we have a full schedule next year, but 2 birds up. You gotta get that back on the schedule. I'm not going to prognosticate about that game because I'm too scared. I'm going to say some shit and it's going to come back to bite me.
It is quite unfortunate that we don't get the backyard brawl for 4 years. I think that's really a loss for college football as a whole. It really is it's just 3 years. Well, like, yeah, three individual seasons, but it will be 4 years
Yeah.
after the game until the games play again. But it's a big loss. It's a big loss for college football. I know people are obsessed with the playoff, but I want to watch regular season rivalry games more than anything else. That's what makes college football so much fun and makes people go crazy. I mean, look at Ohio State fans are probably still pissed about that loss to Michigan more than they're happy about that national championship win. So I mean, that's what college football is, rivalries. And as much as I like playing Syracuse and a good Notre Dame is fun, West Virginia is where it's at. So that's what we write about. I mean, as a journalist, it's like this is what you want to write about. This is what you want to talk about because that's what people want to hear about. That's what you, the fan, want to listen to. You're obsessed about West Virginia and how Pitt's going to eviscerate them on the field and then burn their field afterwards and in a huge celebration. I don't know. I'm just joking, but that's what rivalries are fun. And same thing, Mountaineer fans are probably hoping that they beat Holston to death basically and win the game. Carry Rich Rod on their shoulders off the field. That's just kind of like college football is. It's the rivalry, and it's like you said, Zach. It's very disappointing that we are not getting this game for 3 years, and that they scheduled Coastal Carolina and Southern Miss, I believe, and um, I don't know who's responsible for that, but you should have got done. It should just be a law. I'm not one for getting government interference in college football, but that should be a law. These 2 teams should just play. Make it a federal law. These teams should play every single year. Why not?
Backyard
Other states
brawl
have
and
done it.
backyard brawl and Super Bowl on President's the day before President's Day. That's a good campaign right there.
I think you would probably win 47 states.
The football loving one.
Yeah. I think that's really all I got. I'm very excited for the season. Like Mason said, this felt really short. I am starting to really get myself amped up for this team, and I'm really excited to see him play this Saturday against Duquesne. Any other week 1 games you guys are interested in? Because I have my eye on TCU UNC.
Yeah, those Labor Day
That'd
games
be a good
are
first
good.
look at Belichick. Yeah.
What was that?
Those like post Saturday games are actually pretty good, right? Like it's there's TCU UNC on Labor Day. That's fun. It's all ACC too. It's Miami Notre Dame on Sunday night and Virginia Tech South Carolina on Sunday afternoon. Those are fun. Those are interesting. Like I think that is one of the side effects of the 12 team playoff that I think people are not appreciating. Like you just saw the lineup of like watching that Iowa State Kansas State game. They showed the lineup of kind of the big national TV games on ESPN networks, and it's like Syracuse Tennessee. I'm I won't talk myself into Syracuse being competitive in that game, but I'm interested. Should be like a fun atmosphere. Georgia Tech Colorado. Auburn, like that
That's gonna
Friday
be a good
night,
one.
those two Friday night games, really good, really good. Georgia Tech, Colorado, and um, Auburn, Baylor. Like those are actually probably two of my favorite games of the weekend. Like I'm not gonna be able to watch much of
We've kind of
Ohio State, Texas, but
Yeah, I was gonna say we were dancing around that one, but Miami Notre Dame is gonna be awesome. We're gonna learn a lot about both of those teams, but Texas Ohio State, that one's gonna be really interesting with both Sayan and Manning making not Manning making his first start, but new quarterbacks on both of those teams, both in the Final Four of the playoffs last year. Like also a playoff revenge game for Texas. Like that one's gonna be really really fun to watch.
I will
It's a fun Labor Day weekend slate, man.
yeah,
I will be in Pensacola Beach, Florida, which is right on the border of Florida and Alabama. Um, so during that game, I will be at the bar that the state line really goes down the middle of. And
oh
whoever's winning at the time of the game is what side of the bar I'll be sitting on. So that's going to be a little fun game we play on Saturday.
We forgot this one too. LSU Clemson, the
yeah,
Battle
oh
of
yeah,
Death Valley.
Yeah.
The winner gets to claim it. That one's gonna be that's a fantastic night game. Like of all the major games of the weekend, like that's the one that screams out to me night game. I'm gonna also say I think Clemson's gonna whoop them. That's my one prediction for this weekend. I'm out
I
on
have a
LSU.
take on that game as well. I think that whoever wins that game might get a little sprinkle from Mason on a future to win it all.
I don't hate that.
A lot of people are high on Clemson. I think LSU is talented enough to win it all too. I know there's a lot of other good teams out there, but 12-team playoff, and we can, if nothing else, get to a point where we could hedge out.
yeah. I don't know if we're doing national. I think Clemson's gonna win it all. I'm gonna be an A because that's this weekend. If you're Rob Lowe at the game in your ACC hat, I like it's a huge weekend for narratives, and I'm kind of like wouldn't it just be like Clemson can absolutely beat LSU. I think Clemson's the far better team. Like maybe could beat Notre Dame. I'm not counting on that at all. Um, Virginia Tech, sorry, you're losing to South Carolina, but like if UNC is able to make a statement opening like against TCU, if kind of announce the Belichick era, if man, I guess I can't see Syracuse beating what's their face Tennessee, but like I wouldn't.
That's gonna be a high key butt game. That Tennessee team is
Yeah,
dog ass.
yeah, nah, yeah, I agree. Like I'm not putting it. It's not out of the question that Syracuse can be competitive in that game. My point being that this is like kind of a big narrative weekend for the ACC. Like you could come out of there maybe. I don't know if things break the right way. I think you could walk out of there being a little like power to who. If you're the ACC, like I appreciate the way that they. Oh yeah, and then obviously Georgia Tech. If you're able to go lay it on Colorado, like that'd be pretty sweet too. Like a lot of chances
There's
for.
a lot of games
Yeah.
games this weekend that when we were talking about that 12-team playoff at the end of the year, like they'll come the whole way back to week one to talk about those games that you just mentioned, right? Like they're a great kind of side by side kind of comparison for a lot of these teams. So it's awesome that we're starting off with some of those as opposed to just like, we have some cupcake games in there too. But a lot of good football too that we'll talk about for the rest of the season probably.
You know what? I Speaking of Georgia Tech, Colorado, I might have to reopen the sportsbook account to put some money on Georgia Tech.
Yep.
I'm in on them, and I'm down on Colorado this year. Obviously, losing Shadur Sanders and Travis Hunter is huge for them. Um, Mason hit the celly, but I'm in on Georgia Tech. If I want to loop back to national championship predictions, I'm going to give you a top three of teams I can see winning it. I think it's Clemson, I think it's Notre Dame, and I think it's Ohio State. They've got Jeremiah Smith, man. It's if all three else they can just chuck it to four, and it's probably just going to fucking work.
No Penn
I mean,
State, huh?
they're
No, no, James Franklin is their coach.
Listen,
They
the people, all I've heard all off season is how great Penn State's going to be. I'm with you, bud. Don't throw me under the bus here. I'm just saying, it's crazy how much off-season hype they've been getting.
I let's talk Penn State real quick before closing up shop here because I like to get some hating in. Penn State, I think that Drew Aller is a fine college quarterback. Funny enough, he does not take enough risks to win it in the big moment. I think he plays it a little bit too safe, and then because he just wants to advance the ball. Their offense sputters when that happens, and then the one time he does try to make something happen, he throws a pick and loses to Notre Dame. They don't have any good wide receivers. I think that the kid they got from Syracuse, Pena, I like him. He's not a wide receiver one in the Big Ten. I mean, listen, they have excellent running backs, but I think their QB wide receiver connection is at best like not that great talent wise. And then, so you have an issue with wide receiver. So what you do is you give Jim Knowles $3 million. And famously, Jim Knowles takes like 4 years to get his defense working the way he wants it to. I think it was just like, yes, they're a great team, but they went about this offseason in maybe the stupidest way possible.
Their shot was last year. They had a walk to. They basically had a bye in Boise State. Who they run
yeah.
into? Notre Dame. Like if they were going to do it, I think last year was the year.
A lot of I
It's not
think
happening.
a lot of I think the James Franklin's figured it out, things like that. We're basing it on them handling. Like they beat those two teams who I think were good teams pretty handily, but like two teams that they were decidedly better than. That's the thing I keep going back and forth between. It's like you look at that roster and like I may be higher on the receivers than Zach is, but like you don't see many holes on paper on that roster. But then you're also like, yeah, again, James Franklin is their coach, and are we going to anoint him after beating a Boise State team that was like, God love them, but like that would like, do you ever see them getting past that point? No. Like, should was SMU ever really going to be competitive in Happy Valley in that environment? Probably not. That's my fear, is that they doubled down on the part of their team that was already good. Like they made their biggest improvements on defense with their defensive coordinator, who's already like, did you need to improve that defense? Like I would have taken the $3 million that I gave to Jim Knowles, and like, who was the biggest wide receiver in the portal this year? I couldn't even tell you. If they had Blue Hicks, I'd be all in on them, but guess they couldn't.
Dude,
Well,
speaking
dude,
of schedules and stuff too, Penn State has probably the easiest start to the
That's
season. It's ridiculous.
it's what I know. Nevada, it's Nevada, FIU, Villanova. Yeah, it's they do this every year.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Let's everybody else is going out there and you know, the other nationally ranked teams in the country are going out and giving themselves a test. Ohio State playing Texas. Um, Penn State said no, thank you.
That's like the whole. It's weird because the Big Ten, like when you have 18 teams or whatever they have in a conference, like if you're balancing the schedules out, like the odds that you draw And because they're Penn State, like they're one of those top 3 teams, but like they play Oregon and Ohio State. Like that's 2 losses at most on their regular season schedule. Like, and even then, like
Yeah.
they have continuity. They are on even footing talent wise, and they have continuity advantages over the other 2 best teams in their conference. So, like it's kind of the blessing and the curse of being good, but like they have high expectations, and if they don't meet them, I think this year, if they don't, it's I don't think you can call it national championship or bust, just because kind of anything can happen in. Damn it! All right, someone. I'm still in this draft, and someone just took Blue Hicks 2 spots ahead of me. I'm literally gonna freak the fuck out. Are you kidding? All right, but anyway,
I actually think national championship or bust is a good way to put it. You don't give Jim Knowles $3 million to lose in the semifinals. I think the money is talking, and it's saying, win us a title. By the way, last thing before we are going to get out of here, because I got to edit this and go to bed. Does anyone know the only Power 5 team on Penn State's out of conference in the next 4 years?
Is it Syracuse?
I don't like to venture a guess.
Syracuse.
It is. Yep, it's Syracuse.
Holy shit! They really took a swing with that one.
Yep. They've got in the next 3 years: Marshall, Temple, Buffalo, Syracuse, Delaware, Temple, Ball State, and UMass. And that's here. Yeah, it's some good stuff. All right. I mean, we dedicated 5 minutes of the show to Penn State, so yeah. I think we're at the end here. Thank you all for listening to another 2-hour season preview. I always tell myself these are going to go short, and then they never do. It is what it is. Thank you to both Steven and Dom for joining us. Steven, Dom, returning champions. Love to have you on. You're always back on. I'll probably be hitting you up to come back on at some point in the season. If you like the show, follow us on Twitter at Simple5Pod. And next week, we'll have a surprise for returning listeners. With that, see you next time.
Hail to Pitt.
Hail to Pitt.